So going to negotiation, like what are some, I guess, some either experiences you've had with negotiation and maybe even like advice or tips with negotiation?
Salary negotiation. So again, I've been promoted twice in 2.5 years, which is really, I'm very proud of that. And I think that's really good, starting off.
That's you've been at the same company. So you've got broken tech, in tech, and
it's funny because a lot of people, I'm not against job hopping by all means. Job hop, because that you tend to get a better salary if you job hop. But I like to share my story because it shows like you don't need to job hop necessarily to get an increase in your salary. So I've been able to increase my base pay, not my commissions, but my base pay by more than 60%. So that's kind of like
wild.
And that's why I want to share, okay, here's what's worked for me. So going back to your question, so tips for salary negotiation. So I have 4 to 5 steps that I tell people to follow in piece of advice. So the first
Pull out your notepads.
Yes.
Pull out your notepads.
So the first thing, right, as I alluded to before, write down your accomplishments. So create a Google Doc, create whatever you want. If you want to handwrite it, have a list of all your accomplishments and things you've contributed to your job. So whether that's, I've closed this deal, I've been able to bring in this much revenue, I helped, my teammates do this. I've created like email prospecting scripts for my team. Yeah. Anything that you've seen has made a positive impact to your team, write it down. And the reason why you want to write it down is because you can, when end of the year reviews come or whenever your reviews come, you can leverage that list to back up, your ask for a raise. Yeah. Or a promotion. So that's the number one thing I always recommend. The second thing is have a good relationship with your manager. Now, there's a lot of people that will say, well, I don't like my manager, or, I don't want to talk to him, I'm hands off. But believe it or not, the past 2 times I've gotten promoted, I haven't had to really actually back up my ask as much because my manager has seen the hard work I put in based on the relationship we had. When we have those one-on-ones, I'm very transparent. Okay, this is the work I'm putting in. This is how much, what I'm doing to try to close this deal. And that communication, I think, is something my manager appreciates. And I also tell people this: your manager wants you to do well. Yeah, they do. The reason why is because it reflects well on them. It makes
them look really good.
If they have people under them that are killing it, like especially in sales, if your team is making money, they're going to be making a lot of money, and it looks well on them. So they want to keep you happy, essentially. I mean, that sounds weird, but like they want to make sure that you are happy. So that is something I tell people to focus on too. The third thing would be start the conversations early about your promotion. So my very first manager actually told me, a mentor of mine, he said, if you want to get a raise by the end of the year, you need to talk at the beginning of the year with your manager that, hey, I am looking for a raise and by this much, and have that on, like, open and honest conversation with them and say, what do I need to do to get that raise? Yeah. So you ask them for specific goals and accomplishments that you need to achieve by the time so that you can get the raise.
It's crazy like that you say that because my first company that I was at, I brought up a raise and I wasn't asking for it at the moment, but I just brought it up. Yeah. And when I brought it up, the person I was speaking to, he was very, very, very high up. He was like over the entire department. When I just brought it up, he was kind of like, Cyrus, nah, man, nah, buddy, we're far, far away before we're talking about giving you a raise. And I was like, oh no, I said I'm not asking for one right now. I said I just wanted to know like what's a timeline. Yeah. But it was interesting that I brought it up to him and just dropping that seed. We laughed about it after that, but just dropping that seed. Not even 2 months later, I brought it up again just to know, like, hey, like, what's timeline looking like? And I let him know, honestly. I said, hey, a company is sending me an offer letter. Yeah. I said, I don't want to take it. I said, but I'm just wanting to know, like, hey, what does that look like? Yeah. And he immediately was like, yeah, Cyrus, you brought up a raise before. Yeah. He said he couldn't remember exactly when. He was doing a lot, but he was like, okay, I know it was a few months ago you brought it up. He was like, it's been a little bit of time. You've been killing it. He said, yeah, let's look at a raise. He was like, let's talk numbers. Like, what do you want? And he jumped at it so quickly, and I could tell it was because I had planted that seed before.
Yes, exactly.
Where when I planted the seed, and then some time went by, so when the talks of a raise came up again, he was like, yeah, like you brought it up before, and you've been killing it since then. So yeah, let's talk about it.
And like I said, when you have that conversation, bringing up early, it's not only planting the seed, but asking them, tell me specific goals that I need to accomplish. Yes. And the reason why I reiterate that is because that puts the onus on them, so to speak, to tell you, okay, what exactly do they need to see in order for you to qualify for that raise? Yeah. And then so when that time comes and you've done all those things, you know, it's more of a chance that they not that they have to give you the raise, but you know, you're more likely will be able to get definitely. It from that.
You checked off those boxes.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
now at that point, if you don't get the raise, they know it makes them look dishonest.
Exactly. And the last advice I give is, it's kind of cheesy, but it's so true, is be confident and know your worth. Yeah. A lot of the times we leave money on the table, kind of like what you said, simply because we don't ask. And the best example I can give was, I remember at the beginning of the year, my company, they move us around a lot. So I've been on several different teams. So I was with one manager, my new manager. He had never seen me work, but I brought up to him, I was like, hey, I would love to get a promotion. And he basically was like, you just got one like 10 months ago. So sorry, like you, not yet, kind of like similar to you. And so I ended up switching teams, and then my new manager, again, my company was giving raises because our performance was good overall as a company. But I knew the raises max were going to be, I think, 5%. Yeah. So I was hoping to try to get that. I was like, you know what? I was denied the promotion from my other manager, 5%. But I'm like, wait a minute. Something in me was telling me, I'm like, let me ask this new manager that I have for a promotion. And so I asked him, and I've actually worked with him before, so he did know my work ethic. He knew I was a good hard worker, hard seller, and he gave me the promotion, no questions asked. And that ended up turning into a 26% increase in my base pay versus the 5% that I would have gotten if I hadn't asked for the promotion. So
that's why,
again, that last tip of just being confident and knowing your worth is nobody's going to give you, you don't get the opportunities that you don't ask for. Yeah. And you need to be confident in the hard work that you put in, and you oversee your own career. And I always tell people that, like, that's both a beautiful and scary thing to realize, because you're like, okay, I'm in charge of my own career. Only me is going to care about me. So I have to make sure that I look out for myself and I'm confident in the hard work that I put in.